Hey there, horror movie tea sippers.
The following podcast will contain spoilers for the movie we are about to review. If you have not seen the movie and do not wish to have anything ruined prematurely, then please do not continue to listen until after you have seen the movie.
And welcome to the Horror Movie Tea Podcast. So, God damn it, I never started right. But as you guys may or may not notice, depending on how good your internet is, we are in slightly higher def. It's like, these are technically 4K webcams, but it's not like 4K. Like, it's definitely better than what we had, but it's not like crisp and pristine. But I don't know. I can see a lot more detail of your pretty face. But today we are covering, I guess you could call it a palate cleanser. It's called The Cleanse. And we are also drinking our cleanses today. And I am drinking the Numi Earl Grey tea. What are you drinking?
I went and got the organic matcha green tea from Costco. It's Kirkland's green tea, but I did bougie it up a little bit and put a little bit of ginger puree juice in there.
Oh, I bet that helps.
I put ice, it melted it all, but it's now cold brewed.
See, mine, I like to be able to drink mine pretty quickly, so didn't make mine super hot. But it's like, it's warm to the touch, which is good because my hands are freezing. But I can touch it and it feels fine. But so, The Cleanse. You are following this character who obviously has some baggage. He is super socially awkward, and he forgot.
Left at the altar.
Yes.
Job.
Yes. And anyways, he's just, he's been kind of just going through the motions. Yes. And but not to judge him, poor guy. But he sees an ad for this retreat. And it's so funny because they set it up to where it's like, oh, you get to do this, you're going to feel pure. And they're like, and it's free. And of course, as soon as he's like, it's free, that's when he is like, perked up. But so it's him and then this girl named Maggie that gets chosen. And then this couple, which I forgot their names.
Eric and Lori.
Thank you. And he starts connecting to Maggie because, like, right off the bat, she already gives him, like, a really tragic backstory. And then he's like, I'm so sorry to hear about, like, your husband that killed himself. And she's like, I made it up. It's like, it already has an interesting start. But they are drinking these drinks. And come to find out, and they start purging, and these creatures come out of them, and we're just going to get into the details of the entertainment scale.
Thankfully, our cleanses will not do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Our cleanses are. I honestly look like the juicer stuff where it's like you put a bunch of veggies, but I mean it's got like no fiber and way too much content in it. But 4 of those, I can't imagine. But anyways, entertainment scale. I've got to say, this movie, a third of it is what the heck is going on. A second of it is like just laughing at the ridiculousness. And then the third is just like kind of accepting your fate and being like, like they knew that they wanted to make fun of like the cleansing movement, but then they also took it somewhere that I wasn't expecting. Just, and then also like kind of also was addressed some things about people carrying emotional baggage. So this movie confuses me.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is the second time I've seen this movie, and I took it more as, yes, they were obviously making heavy fun of like the cleansing and juicing kind of movement. The cleanse was specially formulated for each individual person, and they were only supposed to drink theirs, but they had to drink all 4 of the giant jars, the giant mason jars. They were big. They were like the 18 to 24 ounce, it looked like, jars in a day.
But I mean, that's also, to be fair, that's all they could eat.
Yeah, that day.
Yeah.
And then they said that there would be additional food kind of things in their cabins.
Yeah, it's vegetable broth.
But it was all vegetable broth.
But to be fair, though, if you're like throwing up and having diarrhea, you probably don't want to go too heavy. So
No, but I mean, at least some bone broth or something for some kind of protein. Like, it was all...
Yeah, that's
veggie
true.
broth, which has almost no substance. It's like 95% water, and the rest of it is some veggies. Ish. It's like essence of veggie. Like, it's not...
Essence of veggie.
Well, that's what it looked like, especially in the generic looking cans. Like, not name brand stuff or anything. It's generic.
Yeah.
Kind of cans. Like, they went cheap and got it from like the dollar store or something kind of cans.
Yeah.
But so they're doing these cleanses and all, and when they purge, they are throwing up a lot. One guy Eric did say that it was coming out both ends. And thankfully he only had one monster come out of him. I'd hate to see the other one.
Oh, why would you say that?
But these monsters get bigger, and it is a purge of the toxicity in their life, the negative emotions and feelings and things that are holding them back, personified.
Yeah.
Is what it's supposed to be. And to finish the cleanse, you're supposed to kill the monster. But they've kind of bonded with it, which is a problem.
Yeah, it's kind of like a baby.
Yeah, they've bonded with it, which is a problem, and they're supposed to kill it to signify that they're letting go, and they're releasing all of that negativity and everything that they're holding on to, which is very toxic and very much hindering their lives and just impacting their quality of life. So at the end, the monsters actually kind of merged. The two that were in the bag kind of merged together. They don't really go into detail on that or why or anything.
Yeah.
But to be fair, he does seem very like codependent and very, very clingy. So I'm not that surprised that his monster kind of clinged onto hers.
Yeah.
But when they end up killing the monster together, that signifies them moving on. Like, they're letting go of all of those hurtful, negative feelings, the things that hurt them in the past, all of that negative energy. They're getting rid of it. And that's a hard thing to do, to address it and let go.
And I think it's actually kind of cool that they even had them attached to their monsters, because I feel like for some people, they are very much attached to habits or emotional scars that can be toxic to themselves. It's just a type of coping mechanism.
Some people cling to their pain because that's all they know. And the unknown is scary. And moving on is scary. Change is a difficult thing a lot of times. And some people don't know how to do that, so they cling to the things they know even if it hurts them.
Mm-hmm.
So as much as it sucks, and as scary as it is, they did kill the monster. Because holding on to all that toxic and negative things would be the death of them eventually.
Yeah. Yeah, you get to see the groundskeeper guy, he gets killed by his monster.
Fredericks.
But it's so funny. I was about to say my rating, and you went down this whole rabbit hole. I'm like, oh, this is what we're doing.
Quite understand it. So I was giving my perspective.
Well, no, it's not. It's not that I didn't understand it. It's like I understand where they're trying to get at. It's just such a why does this movie exist? Movie or moment, It's like zombie ass. It's just like it didn't need to exist, but it does.
But it does, and it's hilarious. Honestly, it's not very scary, but it's very odd and unsettling.
It's
there are some moments of WTF, ew, no, get it away, gross out kind of scare things, but
for those
scary.
Yeah, for those who are familiar with The Greasy Strangler, I consider The Greasy Strangler a horror movie, but The Cleanse is way more palatable than The Greasy Strangler is. But this movie is entertaining. I don't know if I would ever rewatch the whole thing. Maybe once or twice. It's more like certain scenes that I would rewatch. So I would give this movie probably a 7.
Yeah, I would give it about on a horror scale, I would probably give it about a 5 or 6. But it is a comedy horror. It is satire.
But the entertainment scale, it's
satire. And entertainment wise, definitely a 7. Definitely. If nothing else, for the scene when the lady is coming across the bridge and screaming. For no reason.
We're dying.
Primal scream therapy or something, but she comes across they're talking and they're looking out at this beautiful scene, and then all of a sudden behind them you hear this scream.
Yeah, blood curdling scream.
What's going on? And she's got a big smile on her face, but she's just screaming.
And she's just screaming and egging them on, and then they're all awkwardly
Fredericks is let it out.
Yeah.
Go with it.
Yeah, and they're all awkwardly looking at each other and kind of half-heartedly screaming.
Screaming.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Oh my god. Yeah, it's if you don't want to watch the whole movie, at least watch
It's about 17 and a half minutes in. I was looking when we went back to rewatch it a few times.
Oh.
It's about 17 and a half minutes in. And it's only a few seconds long, that part. Totally worth it, even out of context.
Yeah, I showed it to Steven, and he just started laughing. It's just such a WTF moment. It's just it looks like she's singing, and but no, it's a blood curdling scream, and then her scream is it's so perfect.
It really reminds me of that spoof clip of a yoga class with the Grinch, and they're release all of the negative feelings inside, and the Grinch just screams real big, and everybody looks at him. He goes, "I'm a little messed up." That's exactly what it reminds me of.
Oh man, but yeah, this movie, I feel there's honestly, at least for me personally, there's a little bit more to dig deep with the couple, like Lori and Eric.
Yeah, Lori and Eric.
But it's like I would have to rewatch the movie and digest it a little bit more to kind of comprehend because with the main characters, that was a little bit more obvious what they're trying to do. But with those, I feel like they're being a lot more subtle about it.
Yeah. So they don't really show them as much because, of course, they're not the main character. But what I saw a little bit of is that, of course, they're having relationship issues. They do allude to that a few times. He seems, and please pardon my language, but he seems like an asshole. And, like, not necessarily that he's trying to be, just that he kind of is. And she seems very much kind of beaten down emotionally and mentally and just almost done, but still kind of clinging to the hope that they can fix whatever they have. So they go on this retreat, and he does, in his own kind of weird way, he does seem to care for her a lot. Despite him making fun of it the entire time, he does try. And he does drink all of his jars of nasty crap, and he purges both ends. Part of that might have been the alcohol that he snuck in a flask, which they did say you're not supposed to consume any outside food or otherwise.
Yeah.
So that might have, like, enhanced it a little bit. Maybe. I'm not entirely sure. But he does try to go through the whole program. And he does try to encourage her to finish her cleanse and to drink all of it. She was stuck on that last jar and couldn't seem to really get it down. And he told her, like, pinch your nose and drink it. Though he did say sip, you're supposed to just, like,
chug it.
Just gulp it down, get it done and over with. The less time it's on your tongue, the better. It's like medicine. But, and then he kind of comforts her a little bit in bed and all, and he does say, you need to finish it. Have you purged once?
Yeah.
Like, that can't be good. You need to do this. Though he was also kind of drinking hers.
Yeah.
Which
well,
is a no-no.
And well, my impression is, yes, he definitely had his problems, but she multiple times throughout the movie was like, you need to, like, improve yourself and stuff. And so I kind of got the impression that she was so focused on what was wrong with him that she wasn't focusing on, well, how can I improve as well? And I kind of feel like that was a part of the problem of the relationship, is she was being like, it's all about you, you're the one causing the problems in this relationship, and she's not reflecting and being like, well, is there something that maybe I did as well? So
I did get that a little bit too, and that might be kind of what they're trying to portray as well. When she died, was that she wouldn't address her own issues and kept them in too much.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah.
She wouldn't release anything. She didn't purge anything.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, this movie is strangely deep.
But they do it in a funny way.
Yeah.
In a lighthearted kind of way. Like, it's not a very heavy movie on the whole, except, like, toward the very end.
Yeah, like if you had like an older kid, I feel like this would be a good movie that would be like, this is, to kind of help, this is to digest, like, this is what happens when you hold on to toxic things, or you're not like open, or, open to change.
You don't address your own issues.
Yes.
And grow as a person.
Yeah, it's almost, because you know how a lot of kid movies will kind of like they'll have their own storylines, but they kind of essentially break down complex concepts for kids. I almost feel like it's the adult movie version of that, where it's breaking down a complex subject.
It kind of is. A little bit. And now Maggie, hers was a little more superficial, I feel like. Her issues.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of her issues are like real problems. She was an actress and she was told she had an audition for a little while and she finally went back for an audition and she was told she wasn't thin enough for the part. And that really hurt her mentally. And you see her at one point like hitting herself around her stomach and thigh kind of area and then going for a jog. So clearly she has some kind of like mental issues with her body and how she looks and everything, which is fairly common.
Especially when you're in that profession.
Oh yeah, especially in that profession. But if you take a look at our society, like honestly, you're bombarded with ads after ads of you don't look good unless you use this.
Yeah, which it's gotten a lot better than what it used to be, but there needs to be improvement for sure. Yeah.
There's still a lot out there. And
well, I know like yeah, well like the whole beauty industry is built on you need this product so you can look this way. So it's like honestly I can't picture the industry changing very much because it is dependent on you thinking you're not good enough in order for you to buy a product.
No, I agree. I actually used to have quite a bit of issues that way too, and I still every now and then feel that way, but I feel like it has actually helped not having services that have constant commercials. So
yes.
We don't have
yes.
cable, we don't have TV. We just have specific streaming services that we pay not to have commercials on.
Yeah.
So we don't see crap like that.
Yeah.
Constantly.
It helps a lot for sure. Like commercials, especially like whenever they're on on repeat and they're like anti-aging and you're just like, yeah. Yeah.
But when you think about it, like things like that, some of those ads are now kind of funny to me because at the same time, aging is kind of what happens when you stay alive. Like that's a thing that naturally occurs.
Yeah. Yeah, but
kind of unavoidable.
Yeah, but we digress. But I do find it another thing, referring back to Maggie, one thing that's interesting too is, you know, during this cleanse and this time that they're just eating the vegetable broth, she's continuously exercising. And I mean, she's got to know that she's not having enough calories or sustenance. So she's purposely taking advantage of that to try and lose more weight. But I kind of got the impression that, you know, that the whole like her losing weight did hit her on a deeper level, but also the fact that whenever she's talking about these guys, I kind of got the impression that on the deeper level, it's like she's never good enough. So she's never good enough for the men. She's never good enough for you know, getting a part in an audition. So it's not just she's trying to lose weight. It's kind of what she was focusing on. Yeah. But I feel like if she was quote unquote skinny enough, there'd always be something that she felt was wrong with her.
Oh, there is. There is. That was just the straw that broke the camel's back, I feel like.
Yeah.
So that's what she hyper focuses on.
Yeah.
And exercising when she's in that state is basically a way to punish herself. Because she feels she's not good enough. And yeah, she's not good enough for the part. She's not good enough for those guys and all. But really, she's not addressing the true problem is she feels like she's not good enough for herself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which she never fully addresses.
Yeah. And because whenever they kill it, is it mainly the main guy that...
He starts... But as she's watching him and realizes what has to be done, she does kneel down and help him.
Okay, so maybe that's kind of the movie's way of letting you know that she addressed it. But yeah, this movie, it's so strange because
there's a lot to digest. A lot more than you think.
Yeah, it's like surface level. It's hilarious and it's kind of nasty and it's just such a strange movie. But then whenever you break it down, it's actually a more serious subject. I love movies like this. It's just such a mind blow moment. It's like it's nothing that was like revolutionary. You know, it's like we didn't necessarily learn anything from the movie, but it's like a nice reminder on, you know, don't carry your baggage if it's holding you back. But well,
especially with Fredericks. Fredericks is the big cautionary tale.
Yeah.
Because he survived and for the most part until the end there. And his monster grew so big and it was obviously dangerous. You see toward the beginning of the movie, like he has a massive scratch on his arm that looked kind of bad. Not terrible, but not good.
Yeah.
So he's been dealing with that and they said he's been there for a while. So he just couldn't let go and it eventually killed him.
Yeah. Yeah. So this movie is definitely entertaining, and if you like the movies where you can kind of dig a little bit deeper and reflect, this is definitely the movie for you. Is there anything else you wanted to add before we moved on to realism?
Not for the entertainment scale. It's pretty straightforward for the most part. There's a little bit of depth there that's unexpected, but it's a really entertaining movie. Even if you don't like dig into it, certain scenes are worth the watch in and of itself.
Well, I guess the only other thing I will add is, you know, this movie, I feel like they really knew what they were doing. Like it kept pretty well focused, which is what made the message so crystal clear. And I also think it was smart of them to keep the cast super small, because if it had, I was actually surprised that it was only 4 people in the retreat, but then after watching it, it's like if they had any more, they really couldn't develop them like they were able to. So that way you can really...
Lost in translation.
Yeah, so it really helps you pick apart each of the people in the retreat and kind of understand, you know, what the movie not necessarily explains, but you're like, okay, so this is, you know, helps you better reflect on the character and what happens to them, for sure.
Yes. I do also love that they didn't go with CGI.
Yes, that was really nice.
They actually seem to use props and animatronics and things like that.
Yeah.
The creatures. So
that really helped. Yeah, if they had used 3D animation or computer animation, that would have been a huge detriment to the film. So I think that was a very smart choice on their part. And the main reason is how often the actors interact with the creatures, because it's like, it doesn't matter how good of a point or focal point you have with the actors. Like whenever they're interacting with CG, it does not, you can tell it's not there.
It kind of breaks the illusion.
Yeah, and I mean, these animatronics looked good. Like they
were well done.
Yeah, very well done. So huge props to the special effects team. I mean, that was done very well.
Yes. And they had to do a few different kinds, not just for the people, but they did get bigger as the story progressed.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, they spent some time working on those for sure. So well done there.
And it's interesting because, well, it's also really neat that, you know, this is such a random movie, But between the creatures themselves, they make them look very different. Like they personalized them.
Yeah.
Like they had...
It's supposed to be a piece of that person.
Yeah.
So they have different characteristics and traits of the person they came from.
Yeah, it's like they didn't need to do that, but it really added to the film. So I'm happy that they did that. Yeah, it's like this movie's a little gem, I gotta say. It's not going to be in my arsenal of like I'm gonna watch this movie all the time, but I do not regret watching this movie whatsoever.
And yeah, it's not like an all the time kind of movie, but if it's on, I would definitely watch it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but let's go ahead and move along to realism.
Yes.
Let's suspend reality a little bit for the fact that a monster came out of their vomit.
Yeah. Well, I guess as far as the realism, what I'm going to focus more on is the whole concept of this free resort in the first place. I mean, they've got cabins, they're supplying them with like food and decent plumbing. Like, there's no way that they can offer these services for free. So I'm calling huge BS on that, unless if they take donations, which they made no reference to.
My thought on that was I kind of understand it since it's a very, very new thing. If they have the first couple of runs free to up the hype.
Maybe, and then they'd have like free publicity because...
Yes, and then publicity and all, once people see how much they've changed when they come out of it, then they spread the word, and then people would flock that way.
Yeah, I could see that.
I could see that. But it does make it sound very cultish, no matter how you look at it.
Well, and then the fact that they paid for the ads. Yeah. Like, it would be different if they're sending, like, stuff through the mail. You know, sending stuff through the mail is super cheap. Yeah. And they were...
TV ads.
Yeah, so that's a little bit... If they're offering it for free and they were just trying to get more hype, that seems a little bit sketchy. But... Yeah,
It's definitely not sustainable. Especially since these people are all they're purging these things in like the sink. It looked like it was the sink for everyone.
Yeah.
Because it's the closest thing to the bed, I guess. But those pipes were melted. It was like acidic. Which makes sense from the movie standpoint. These things are toxic. They're getting rid of all this negativity and everything. So it would kind of make sense that it would kind of eat away and corrode the piping.
Yeah.
But then you got to replace it for the next round of people.
That's true.
That gets expensive.
Yeah. Give them a bucket.
Right.
A corrosive resistant bucket.
Right.
But
got a design flaw, guys.
And I will say the way that they react to the creatures is probably detrimental to at least specifically the realism scale. Like, to the movie itself, it benefits it because it helps move along the story. But I'm sorry, if there's a creature that came from me and it was moving around, like, whenever you first see it, I would have smooshed it. So, it's like there's some...
But the thing is, I think that's why they showed the scene with the rat that he couldn't kill, that he called the Super 4.
Oh.
Was that he doesn't have it in him
to kill
something.
Even
when it's like in pain.
Yeah.
Like the rat.
That was awful.
That was bad.
That was a horrendous scene. You hear it like screaming in pain.
Suffering. in that trap and everything just ended. That's a mercy at that point.
Well, it's like there's other types of traps where it's not harming it. It's just catch and release. If you don't want to kill it, just
Which is not always the best with those kind of creatures, but just to each his own. There are available traps that don't kill it. He could have caught it and released it elsewhere. That is the thing.
Yeah.
But he does also seem very squeamish.
Yeah. So I'm thinking of giving this movie a 5. Because it's like there's some things that I'm like, no, that probably doesn't seem very realistic. But besides the gut monsters.
The jerk, Eric, didn't kill his right off the bat. He seemed like the type that would be like, oh no, F that.
Maybe.
Just destroyed it. But he seemed to like really bond with his.
Yeah. I don't know.
Seemed worried when it started to like eat its hand.
Yeah. And I do wonder, and this thought came across my mind whenever we were watching the movie, because it's like it's very obvious whenever something happens to the characters, you see it reflected within a few seconds of the monsters. So I wonder what he did that caused the monster to want to eat it, because obviously the monster is doing self-destructive behavior, so they're trying to show that something he was doing was being self-destructive.
Well, he did say at one point, a little bit before then, like when he had the flask, he said, "You're looking at me like I'm an alcoholic." So he might have been doing some kind of self-destructive behavior, and it might have been reflected that way.
That would make
sense. What else did the monster have but to eat itself?
Yeah, because I don't really show him drinking that often, but I do remember that scene now that you mention it. Mm-hmm. Oh.
Again, they don't really delve too much into those two characters since they're fairly minor characters.
Yeah.
But that was my reasoning there.
Yeah.
But I do believe a 5 is pretty solid. Most of their reactions seem pretty accurate. Maggie is very distant, so she didn't really want to have anything to do with hers. She really had to kind of warm up to it.
Yeah.
And she did finally let it in, and then it made it that much more difficult when she was told she had to kill it.
But I think that also reflects, like, whenever he was trying to ask more information about her, and she's like, no, don't want to talk about it. It was reflecting the fact that she was trying very hard not to address her issues.
Yeah. And she didn't want to let anyone in because she felt like she wasn't good enough for anyone.
Yeah.
Including herself. And that's why her monster kept, like, running away. Like, it kept crying and it wanted attention. But whenever someone would go near it, it would, like, run away and hide.
Yeah. Nice catch. Nice catch. Yeah, this movie, yeah, it is a little bit gross, but not like too bad. Like they don't show them vomiting, you just hear it. So
you see a little bit of vomit. It's not much, and it legitimately just looks like the juice he drank. The orangish yellow.
Yeah, like I can't look at vomit. Like it makes me. I'm a sympathy. Yeah, it's like if I hear or see someone, it makes me want to do it too. But this movie only like slightly bothered me. Whereas like it wasn't like
Thankfully, they didn't show it in the sink after he threw up or anything like that. They switched to him turning on the faucet.
Yeah.
So you just see the knob and his hand turning it. And then afterwards, they do go to the sink, but everything's gone at that point. It's just water going down the drain.
Yeah, really the grossest part is when you see the stuff in the pipe. But yeah, compared to other stuff we've seen, it's really not that bad at all.
Oh, no, this was super mild.
Like, I probably wouldn't necessarily eat while watching this movie, but that's the extent. Like, it's not that bad at all.
Could drink.
You could drink, yeah. But
I will call bull on there were like no phones anywhere and no one was calling them on it. They didn't try their cell phones even to see if they maybe had signal. I doubt they would in an area like that. It was pretty remote.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't even try to check their cell phones for a signal. They didn't look for a phone anywhere to like call anyone.
Well, I know.
Very upset with them.
Yeah.
Y'all didn't tell us that this was gonna happen. Like there'd be something coming out of us that's moving.
Well, a lot of those types of retreats, they do tell you, like, no electronics, no cell phones, which, I mean, they should have a phone for emergency purposes. But, yeah, the movie doesn't establish whether or not they're allowed electronics. But I would assume not.
Yeah, they don't mention it at all. And, again, when they're really upset, chances are someone's going to try to call someone. Be it a family member, PD... something, animal control, something.
This parasite came out of me. I need you to pick it up.
To get to the nearest hospital, nothing. Because, again, my first thought, parasite. And if that came out of me, what else is in me?
Yeah. Well, honestly, Eric, I'm surprised that as soon as either his girlfriend got like super sick or like right when she passed, he wasn't like, I'm calling the police, you know?
Well, he drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, that's true.
Like I said, this place is almost kind of cult-like mindset, and he was really starting to get into it after a while, after bonding with his creature.
Yeah.
A little bit, and he seemed all about it.
Yeah.
And that's why he came across as, you haven't purged once. You haven't finished your cleanse. What are you doing?
Though in the beginning of the film, when Paul or Leonard signs his name, I'm assuming that was probably a disclaimer for him. Or
yeah, it did have, it was a waiver. It was an accident and liability waiver.
Okay, so
it did mention on their death, so it releases them from any liability if death occurs.
Okay, so it's like they could call the police, but it's not like nothing. Well, it's kind of dependent.
Action against them, but he still could have called for help.
Yeah, yeah. It's like maybe she could have been savable.
Yeah, they could have treated her somehow potentially.
Yeah, like maybe she was becoming unconscious temporarily, and then they could like purged her or something, and then they could have like helped her recover. But yeah, she is definitely dead though by the time that you see her and he's laying next to the bed. Like,
oh yes,
yeah, I feel bad for her, but
definitely.
But it's all about like it's interesting because each character, they all have baggage, but they all are dealing with it in different ways. And I mean, and it's totally ways that you see real people deal with their issues.
Yep.
So
some people lash out or do self-destructive behaviors. Others seem stuck and can't really move on. They're just almost in a rut. They can't move on. And others hold it in and pretend like it's everybody else's issue.
Yeah.
But their own.
Yeah. Or there's some people that pretend that there's not an issue and then they just, go through life. So, yeah, very, very interesting movie. I like it a lot. I'm glad that you convinced me to watch it. I was a little bit nervous, but I gotta say, I thought it was just going to be a stupid horror movie, but this gave me some depth I wasn't expecting for sure.
Right? But again, like there are certain scenes, even if you're just wanting to watch kind of a funny movie,
yeah,
it's worth it. Like I told you would laugh this morning. And you did.
I did. It's got some really funny, ridiculous scenes. Like this movie just overall, it's so funny. It's like, it's got, the funny ridiculousness that you'd expect with any like weird, like not that scary horror movie. But then it gives you this level of depth that you don't expect. So kind of two sides of the coin. Yeah. You don't expect them to go so well together, but they seriously did a pretty darn good job.
Yeah.
So there's not a whole lot I would change. Like maybe like addressing the electronics on like whether or not they're loud but
Why they don't have anything even for emergency things? Yeah, they don't seem to have like a stove or something. But what if there's a fire? Like you have to be able to call someone.
I could have sworn like whenever Paul goes to throw up, I could have sworn in the corner there's a white stove. It's like a metal white
Maybe.
something. I don't know. Maybe it was
In case they definitely need
yeah.
some kind of something for emergency services.
Yeah. But
it's a good movie and definitely worth the watch, guys.
yeah. Yeah, and if you're watching it for the first time after you have seen this episode, let us know. Let us know your thoughts. If you watched the movie prior to watching this episode, let us know your first impressions before you watch this episode, and let us know if you had similar thoughts to what we had, or if if your mind got blown, or if you're like, this is stupid.
It is kind of a stupid movie.
Yes.
It's still kind of a gem at the same time.
Yeah, it's totally worth it.
It is. So let us know what you think, guys, and let us know what are some other movies that you want us to watch and review. At this point, this should be our last episode of January. So we're coming up on next month, which is a themed month for Valentine's.
Yay!
We're gonna have some fun ones there. It is going to be kind of centered around like couples and that kind of thing. And some of them are going to be funny, others we're hoping are going to be a little scary.
Yeah.
Very, very unsettling at the least. But let us know what other ones you want us to review for those two.
Yes.
And of course, like, comment, subscribe, share.
Yes.
Our social media everywhere. We are close to our goal of 100 for each one of those.
Yeah, we're so close.
So close.
And
we're coming up on our 1 year anniversary of starting this podcast.
Yes, and in addition to following, liking our videos, as well as like the watch time, like YouTube, the way that their algorithm works is it's how many views you get versus how many likes versus how long a person watches a video. And then also with like social media posts, like the more you like one and retweet it or share it or whatever, those algorithms help tremendously with those platforms knowing to promote our content. And it's like we're right. I feel like we're right on the cusp of being able to create like a good community. And so it's like any support would be so very much appreciated. Like it's like we have our dreams, but we can't do this without you guys. And any and all support you can provide would be so very much appreciated.
Plus, it makes it more fun when you guys talk back with us and we have an actual open discussion.
It's like
about the movies and games we do.
It's like we don't want to be those like movie critics that's like, oh, my opinion is so much better than yours. It's like we want to essentially be like, this is our thoughts, but let's continue this conversation, because the bigger community we have where we have intelligent discussions on movies and what they mean to us and what we want from them, then the more people will be inspired to create horror movies on, that do have a deeper meaning and that are better, like the whole
better spoops, God willing.
Yes. It's like our goal is to not to crap on Blumhouse, but I'm sorry, you have a bad reputation, Blumhouse. But
I love some of their movies, but some of their other ones, oh my god, it's like hit or miss.
Yeah, we want to move from Blumhouse sci-fi originals to like more like, actual good
Yes.
back to the I wouldn't say back to the classics because some of the classics aren't that great, but
Update the classics a bit.
but to horror movies that raise the bar up a level to where we can watch it and be scared, but also get something out of it. Just, I want more horror movies that can make an impact on our lives rather than a cheap thrill.
Yeah.
So.
And if we could also like start a movement to just decrease, they don't have to go away completely, but decrease the jump scares.
Yes.
That would be wonderful.
Yes. Yeah, it's like, that's not scaring, that's startling.
It's different. It's completely different. And sometimes it's nice just to have that quick release, but it shouldn't be relied upon for the entire movie.
Yeah, it's like create a quick release, have build up, don't release, kind of like, oh shush.
What's in that jar?
Speech impediment, shush. But yeah, just yeah.
We also, since this is the last episode of the month, I do want to remind everyone that next weekend, I believe after this comes out, weekend after this comes out, we have another live stream.
Yes, it's on unless if we say otherwise, it's on the first Saturday of every month.
Yes. We try to keep it as consistent as possible, and it should be on the first Saturday of each month, unless, of course, something comes up. And we will let you guys know if that situation occurs. It would either be the weekend before or the weekend after in those situations.
And it's from...
Do a post for those.
Yes, and it's from 7 to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. So it's a quick 2-hour stream, but...
on twitch.tv.
It can be rather entertaining to watch us be scared or just fail, because...
Triumph or fail, we're going to post them all eventually. So.
Yes.
And if you do happen to be away from your computers or TVs, if you miss it, not a big deal. We do post them in parts on YouTube as well.
Yes.
So, or if you want to go back and rewatch how stupid we are playing those games, you can always view those as well.
Yes, yes.
Relive those moments of our failure. Or our triumph. And relive all of those funny moments with us.
Yes.
So, we'll see you guys there, and of course on the next episode as well. Until then, guys, stay safe and stay spoopy.
Bye, guys.
Bye.